Let's move on and talk about The Guardian's front page. PM accused of betrayal over the fund to fix cladding. Now, this front page is about, obviously, more than 3 years after the Grenfell Tower fire, which killed 72 people. Boris Johnson now unveiling a £3.5 billion fund to fix dangerous cladding. However, The Guardian saying that this still leaves an estimated 500,000 people still facing financial difficulties. Talk us through this, Lance.
Yeah, well, this is the long-awaited announcement from the government about how they intend to respond to the enormous cost that people have been facing in those buildings that do have dangerous cladding. They've been unable to move. They've been faced with very high costs of having fire wardens and other preventive measures in place before the cladding is actually removed. So we've now finally got the announcement, but perhaps inevitably it doesn't please everybody. And there's this rather arbitrary limit of 18 metres. So anything above 18 metres, if your building's higher than 18 metres, it will be repaired for free and the cladding will be taken off and replaced for free. But if it's below 18 metres, it won't. And you might find yourself having to pay up to £50 a month on a long-term loan to have the work done. It is a bit arbitrary. There was one couple I saw in Birmingham who'd been out and measured their flats, and their flats were 18.2 metres high, so they were counting their lucky stars that had it been one brick lower, they would have been on the wrong side of the line. And other campaigners are also saying, well, it's not just about cladding, and why should anybody have to pay the cost of shoddily built or unsafe buildings? And indeed, Boris Johnson himself said not so long ago that no leaseholder should have to pay under those circumstances. And as a result of this announcement today, some leaseholders still will.
Lynn?
Yes, I mean everything that Lance has said. He summed it up very well there. I think it's probably worth saying that those, even though it sounds like a small amount, those long-term loans for people living in the smaller height under 6 stories, £50 a month is still a lot of money if you're on a low income and that you're not budgeted for, and that can plunge a lot of them end up plunging them into negative equity anyway. And people are left trapped in flats with nowhere to go. I certainly know of a couple of former colleagues that I worked with in government who either lived in new build flats or had real problems either selling them or being trapped in that place for a long time. I think it's also worth pointing out that £3.5 billion would, more than a year ago, be seen as a huge amount of money to spend on this. But of course, with the billions and billions of pounds that have been spent post-COVID, it doesn't seem like a large amount of money to be coming out for this. And the government have really found themselves in a bit of a tricky position here, because they've despite finding this, which is an enormous amount of money for this, it doesn't seem to have met the expectations of those who need it.